Hey everyone, this is Ryan Schinneller from Grace Church of Avondale, and today we're going to talk about problem solving. So there are two miracles that happen in the city of Cana. One that everyone knows about, it's where Jesus turned the water into wine at a wedding. The other one is where a nobleman had a son who was sick in Capernaum, and he comes to Jesus and asks Jesus to heal his son. Now, both of these people had problems. They were not of the same weight, let's say. One was they ran out of drink at a party. The other one was someone whose son was going to die. But there are two problems. What's interesting is the way that they approached solving their problems were pretty much identical. And the things that Jesus did were pretty much identical. So I wanted to go through and look at this as a model for how we solve the problems that we come across in our life, whether it's anything from running out of drink at a party to something very, very serious like the death of a family member. So the first thing that each one of them do is they come to Jesus. You may remember in the wedding, Mary comes to Jesus and says, "Jesus, we ran out of wine." And Jesus is like, "Okay." Well, the same thing happened with this guy. He actually leaves his son who is dying. Instead of staying right there with him at his deathbed, he goes to where Jesus is. Now, that seems counterintuitive to us. We would want to stay, maybe send someone to Jesus, but he himself goes to Jesus. So both of these instances, they're going to Jesus first. This is their first resort, not their last resort. And I think that's the problem that a lot of Christians make, is we make Jesus our last resort with our problems instead of our first resort. Now, the second thing that happens is Jesus gives them instructions. And in both cases, the instructions are not according to human logic. In the case of the wedding, Jesus tells the servants to take the pitchers of water and take them to the master of ceremonies, and they would be wine. He actually doesn't even tell them what's going to happen. He just gives them this direction, and they do it. Mary had told the servants, just whatever he says to do, do it. Now, for the nobleman, he goes to Jesus, and Jesus says, "Go your way. Just go on back home. Your son lives." And he had prefaced it by just talking to people and saying, unless this generation sees signs and wonders, they won't believe. But this nobleman was told, "Go your way," with no proof that his son was healed. But he does it. In both cases, Jesus gave them instructions to do, and they just did it. Now, the last thing to note is, well, first of all, I will go ahead and tell you, spoiler alert, in case you're reading these stories in John, that yes, the water was turned into wine, and yes, the nobleman's son was healed. But what I find interesting is both of these is they left the problem with Jesus. Mary brought it to him, said, "Hey, we're out of wine." And then she looked at people and said, "Whatever he says to do, do it." The nobleman leaves his son, comes to Jesus. Jesus says, "Go your way, for your son is healed." And he goes, and he just heads on back home, knowing that his son must be healed because Jesus said so. This is the way we need to approach problems in our life. Very often what we want to do when we have a problem in our life, whether it's the computer won't work, the car won't start, whether it's our marriage is falling apart, a relationship is hurting, or anything, is first we want to look for every way we can think of to fix it, because we want to have some measure of control in it. But I'm just going to tell you, start with Jesus. Take the problem to Jesus. Spend time listening to what he says. And then whatever he says, even if it feels unconventional, even if it feels like something that's counterintuitive to our human logic, let's do that and give that a chance to work. Because I believe that when we do what the Holy Spirit's telling us to do, when we do what Jesus says after we've brought him something like that we will find that that's when the breakthroughs occur, the healings happen, the water is turned into wine, or whatever miracle that we are holding on to and holding out for, that's when we see God move in a mighty way. I hope this encourages you, and I just encourage you to be blessed this week. Spend some time with Jesus, listening to him. We love you. God bless.